How did Arkansas State go from losing 4 in a row to winning 4 in a row? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. First and foremost, thank you for the kind words for the interview from Charles Huff. I'm not sure I think we had him a few years ago during the season. Tried to get him last year. It didn't work out, but he was great and didn't try to ask the cliche questions, although we did ask him about being good or lucky on defense, because I would have been endlessly gotten grief if I didn't ask him that question to his face. So I appreciate his thoughtful answer, right? You got to make the play, but at the same time, if they mess up, that's not our fault, which is true. All right, having said that, we do have head coach of the Arkansas State Red Wolves, Butch Jones. A little bit of a quick conversation, just the one segment. But how did Arkansas State turn their season around? Did he see it coming? We talk about the improved defense, and we talk about this showdown against Charles Huff and Southern Miss. We'll get into Georgia Southern and App State, and we'll talk about the rest of the Week 11 for an early-ish preview, all coming up. So it wasn't very long, but it was thoughtful, and I do appreciate his time. He is the head coach of the Arkansas State Red Wolves. He is Butch Jones, and he is Locked On Sunbelt. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and we have our third coach of the week. We have Butch Jones, the head coach of the Arkansas State Red Wolves. They have a huge showdown Saturday morning at 11 a.m. against the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. The winner of that game will be in charge of the Sunbelt West Division. Coach, thanks very much for hopping on. You turned the season around because it was going in the wrong direction. Did you see it coming? And what turned around? Because I actually talked to Charles Huff about this, and he's like, outside of the Arkansas game, they were playing well, just not finishing.
Well, I think it's a great illustration of kind of the world that we live in right now. And I've said it, when you're in the group of 6, everything that you do is a byproduct of your non-conference scheduling. And so I knew that we were going to have a challenge to start the season. Even before that, we have 70 newcomers in our football program. And a lot of these individuals actually didn't get to Jonesboro till June and sometime July. So really, we only played competitive football starting in August. And then you look at, again, the byproduct of a non-conference scheduling, we're actually 13-5 versus opponents that are non-Power 4. So our program knows how to win. But when you look at, playing 2 Power 4 football programs back to back, and the way we started, so we needed to kind of stay the course. And I think it's a great illustration of resolve, being able to persevere. I think when you look at the landscape of college football, everybody wants to fire their coach. Everybody wants immediate gratification. And I think it's a byproduct. College football right now is a byproduct of society. And so as a coach, you have to keep working. You have to keep, believing in your process, and it's all process oriented. But to our players' credit, nobody blinked. They stayed the course. And I think sometimes too, you have to go through struggles to get to where you want to go. And, especially with the Kennesaw game, the ULM game, and those are 2 really good football programs. Everyone's like, Kennesaw. Well, the last time I checked, Kennesaw is bowl eligible, and they're 6-2, and we had to go to their place and play. Right. So there's a lot of things. So it's keeping perspective, and I've said it. It's the football teams and the football programs that can handle the natural adversities that a long football season brings about. If you can do that, you're going to like where we're at. And we have to play complementary football. We have a tremendous task ahead against Southern Miss. And really the last 3 are going to be, hard-fought football games. But I can't say enough about our character of our football program. And we're winning because we have a strong culture in place.
I'll be the first to tell you, it didn't look good with the Kennesaw and ULM game. I'm sure on my episodes, I was like, what's going on here? It's one thing to Arkansas. It's another thing to Iowa State. So what do you think happened? Because it got off to a really bad start at Kennesaw State, right? 21-0 in the first, but you guys made it a one-possession ball game. Where did you see, like you said, the character, and they didn't blink? Where did you see that you turned a corner?
Well, you kind of brought that up. Anything and everything in the Kennesaw game that could go wrong went wrong. And we created a lot of adversity for ourselves, but our players kept fighting. They kept playing, and we actually had the ball, I believe, 3 different occasions to drive the length of the field to put it into overtime, and we weren't able to do that. But I saw a resilient group. I saw a group that was coming to work every single week, and we just needed to stay the course. I think obviously the way we played against Iowa State, but the Texas State game and the way we won that football game and the belief system that really we had in place, but really kind of our players kind of for the first time saw what we talked about with style of play, how we're going to win games. And, it's all about the players making it come to life, and they've been able to do that. But again, I think it goes back to perspective. We played very high-end quality opponents. And when you do that, we were just coming up short. And, in today's world of give up, if it doesn't go the way you like it, push the reset button. Well, we know there are no reset buttons. But to our players' credit, to our coaches' credit, to everyone, we just kept working. And again, we're not a finished product. We have to overachieve every time we go out there. I want to say in all of our wins, we were only favored to win one time. And so, we have to overcome some deficiencies by connection, by toughness, by team football. And we've been able to do that recently.
We're talking to Butch Jones, head coach of the Arkansas State Red Wolves. All right, so there's ugly games and there's ugly games. Obviously, Marshall had a 5-turnover game, 4 in this third quarter against Coastal Carolina. And then there was your game against South Alabama. All right. You were hot at the beginning of the game, Major Applewhite hot at the end of the game. The rest of us were just hot because there were like 29 penalties combined. It was one ugly football game. But that's a great example of being resilient, right? It was a 14-3 ball game. Then it was, it was 14 to, you guys missed a kick or you settled for a field goal is what happened. And then you stopped them not only from going in for a touchdown, but they missed the field goal. Is that maybe where it started to turn? You started to believe because you couldn't really play any worse for about 50 minutes, and then you played good enough to win in the last 10.
I think, first of all, never going to apologize for winning. Winning is hard, and half of college football loses every single week. And I think, where there's some things, obviously, that we needed to get correct, absolutely. But we found a way to win a football game, and we found a way to win versus a quality opponent and on the road. And it's exceptionally hard and challenging in the Sun Belt Conference to go on the road and win a football game. By the way, I just saw your coffee cup.
It is. It's coffee. It's coffee.
Kind of for a loop right there.
It really is coffee, Coach. I can't do it.
That's one of the best coffees. Here's the difference. You have that bourbon coffee cup, and I have that. So there's the difference. But every game you play is like a chapter in a book, and you have 12 chapters in the book. And so, you learn through trial and tribulation, and every opportunity is a learning experience. And, I think the perseverance and the resolve from the previous games, from the Texas State game, I think that lended itself. And again, it hasn't been pretty, but we're winning football games. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
All right, a few more questions for Butch Jones. He's very busy today. Let's talk about how that defense improved, because I didn't see that coming. I will say, I did pick Arkansas State to cover against Troy because I didn't like the 7.5, but I wasn't sure you guys were going to win. And then you dominated defensively. Where did that come from? Because we really haven't seen that, although I looked at the statistics, and in Sun Belt play, you guys are actually second in scoring and second in defense.
You have to take your fan cap off, and you have to do a fact check all the time. That's what I'm talking about is, when you look at head-to-head competition against your peers, and you really look at that. And again, I think our defense is a byproduct of our team, is that, they're learning to play together now. We talk about in our program being 11 for 11. And so we're able to do that. But I think every game you play, I talked about the chapter of the book, is a style of play. And each team has a unique style of play, or, and fights dictate styles. And so, and football is the greatest team sport, but it's also a game of matchups. And that's what makes Southern Miss such a challenge for us is, their matchups, what they run schematically, the up-tempo offense, it takes away from team defense. There's a lot of different things that, maybe some games you match up better against this team than you do other teams. And that's why people across the country say, well, how can this team beat this team, but then they lose to this team? Right. Well, football still comes down to a game of matchups. Right. And so every game we look at that is, how do we match up? Where's our strengths? Where's our weaknesses? Okay, as coaches, how are we going to overcome those discrepancies or those disadvantages for us? And how can we create a competitive edge in everything that we do?
All right, let's wrap it up here with the head coach of the Arkansas State Red Wolves, Butch Jones. All right, huge showdown, huge ball game. The part I like about, I'm a big baseball guy, so I like the everydayness of it, but I also enjoy the anticipation of college football or football in general, especially coming off a win. And so you get to bask in the glow of anticipation. I figured everybody, this has got to be the biggest game in Jonesboro, maybe since you've been there. And it's been the biggest game, I think someone said so far. Maybe this is going to be the first day of practice you've had. What's the feeling in town? Can you feel the energy? Because, this is going to basically determine who's going to be in the Sun Belt Championship game with the game against Southern Miss.
Major important games as well. So you can never make one game bigger than the other. Both teams know, the kind of the storylines behind it. And by the way, don't let Charles Huff snowball you at all. He knows he's sitting on a really, really, really quality, really explosive and good football team. And, I told him that, he accused me of calling them the 85 Bears. And I said, well, you may not be the 85 Bears, but I think you're the 2004 Buccaneers, if that was the year the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. But, you got to treat every game the same. It's all about your process. It's all about your preparation. Every coach will tell you the same thing, but it's real. It's not coach speak. It's how you prepare. And then, what's your mental disposition? What's your mindset on game day? All those things that go into that. We've won, not by chance. We've won because of our preparation. Our preparation has been outstanding throughout the course of the week and at the hotels and all that. So again, nothing changes for us. We're heavy underdogs. It's going to be a great challenge for us, but also a great opportunity. And excited to see how our community comes out and supports our football team. And we worked hard for this, but again, we have 3 critical games left, and not one is more
heavy underdogs. And I would be interested to see if that 5.5 point spread did shift a little bit. All right, I want to thank head coach Butch Jones. Although I will say one thing: Charles Huff says the only thing he does on game day is decide to go for it on 4th down and make sure the guys are in the right mental state. But he also dances on the sideline. Will you get you to do a little dance on the sideline?
He's extremely animated. Sometimes I think when I watch him, he's Tiger Woods playing golf with the uppercuts and all that. But, Charles and I go back a long time, good friends. Was at Alabama together. So, again, he's got a quality football team and has done a great job. And really, some people who don't know, I said, we're really playing the defending champion of the Sun Belt. If you look at their defense alone, 7 of their starters were starting at Marshall last year. And when you really think about it in the age of college football and transfer portal and instant gratification and coach firings and all that, isn't it unusual? Who would have ever thought that you basically took Marshall's football program and you moved them down the road in the same conference at Southern Miss? And he's done a great job there. And I have a lot of respect for their football team, their football players, and what Charles has done. So looking forward to the competition on Saturday. I think it'll be healthy for college football. I think the other storyline is it's a great opportunity for the Sun Belt. It's a nationally televised game at 11 a.m. on ESPN. So a lot of great things for our conference.
We're not going to let Butch Jones know us either. He's done a great job at Arkansas State, from building in the recruiting classes to getting to a bowl game to winning a bowl game, and this year competing for a place and so much. And it's going to be a well of a ball game. I appreciate your time on a busy week. Thank you.
Well, you're the best, and appreciate you, and Wolves up.
All right, thanks to Butch Jones for hopping on Lockdown Sunbelt. To appreciate it. Should be a well of a ball game coming up this weekend. Let's take a time out. We'll come back. We will talk about App State and Georgia Southern. That is going on tonight. We'll do that right after I tell you about Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And their Trade Master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. So we've been talking about Arkansas State and Southern Miss throughout the week. Let's talk about tonight's ball game. You do have App State and Georgia Southern. This ball game is in lovely Boone, North Carolina, and App State is 5.5-point favorites. Not sure either team is coming in on a high note. Georgia Southern lost to Arkansas State, up 21-10, lose 34-24, and they have lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games. Got beat badly by James Madison, 35-10. Was getting beat badly before they made a run, but fell short to Southern Miss. Took care of Georgia State with a big fourth quarter, and basically was dominated in the fourth quarter against Arkansas State. App State, on the other hand, they were playing pretty well until they blew a ball game against Coastal Carolina, and they have lost 2 in a row. They were not playing particularly well against Old Dominion. A.J. Swan came in and saved the day, I guess. Not quite, but he did throw a couple of touchdown passes. So we will see who the starting quarterback is for App State. All right. I'd like to think this is not about saving Clay Helton's job, but the way people are fired, Mike Loxley was fired with a young club in Maryland. We'll see what happens with South Alabama's Major Applewhite, huge turnover and injuries there due to the transfer portal and just plain injured. And so who knows, you wouldn't think that LSU would be coming up with $50 million to fire a coach and then $100 million to get the new guy in. So we'll see how that goes. As for Dowell Loggins, I think he's having a pretty good season. I think we do overreact. Okay. He had a quarterback to begin with, A.J. Swan, who kept on giving it to the other team. So J.J. Cole comes in, doesn't give it to the other team, leads them to a couple of victories. What happens when J.J. Cole starts giving it to the other team? Old Dominion beats him. So we'll see what happens with that going on. And the biggest thing you need as a coach, you need some consistency and solid play. All right. They haven't gotten it. I think Brad Jackson at Texas State's been pretty good, but the defense is very good. But they have not had, for all of good that G.J. Kinney has done, he's been there 3 years. He's had 3 different quarterbacks. We tell you all the time with Mike Desimo, he can't keep a quarterback healthy. Whereas the last guy, in 3 out of his 4 years, had the same quarterback start every game. That may not be feasible in this day and age of NIL and the transfer portal, but that's just the way it went. The transfer portal has nothing to do with the Cajuns quarterback staying healthy, just gets hurt. Desmo, by the way, on a side note, said this past week was the first time they had not lost an offensive lineman to injury all season long. All right, so what's going to happen in this ball game? I think App State is going to win the game. I presume A.J. Swan is going to start this football game. Let's see what Georgia Southern has done on the road, because I'm guessing it's not all that impressive, right? They lost to Fresno State and USC. All right, Fresno State ends up being a little bit better than we thought. They did beat Jack State in a very good football game, and they beat Maine. They lost to JMU on the road. That's JMU. And then they just lost Arkansas State on the road. So they only got 3 wins, Jack State, Maine, and Georgia State. And I happen to think App State is just a little bit better if they can finish. And I think that was the big word that Charles Huff said with Arkansas State. They were playing well, but couldn't finish. Now they are finishing, right? They did finish with, Texas State. They did finish with South Alabama. They came back and finished better than those other games, which were 1-point victories against Georgia Southern. So I think they're going to finish pretty well. I just think they're a better squad. The unfortunate part for me, although maybe we'll just do it, pony up the few bucks. This is a nationally televised ball game on ESPN2. Well, guess who has YouTube TV? So last Saturday, just to watch the Troy game, just the one game, we got the day pass from Sling. We may do the day pass again. I'll send my receipts to Locked On. We'll see what happens there. Expenses. So we may end up doing that. But I think App State is going to win. A tough name for a Deeper Than Hate? Jeez. Can someone give me the background on how that came to play? Did have to Google it. Found out if that's the name. It could be an old name. But the rivalry name is Deeper Than Hate. That is rough. So that's the name of the rivalry. And we shall see. Let me see what's going on here with the rivalry. We know a couple years ago that, Georgia Southern won it on the last second on what was a fantastic pass in the back of the end zone. That was awesome. Last year, Georgia Southern won 29-20. In 23, App State blew them out 55-27. And in 22, I'm sure that's his first one. Yeah. So that was in double overtime. That was a fantastic ball game. So that's 3 out of 4 for Georgia Southern. Let's go back to 21. Georgia Southern won that one. But no, I'm sorry. App State won that one 27-3. So over the last handful of years, they're about even, although Georgia Southern has won 3 of the last 4 ball games. I think I did that right. I was actually looking at App State's things and trying to reverse it. But let's find out. I think that was the case. 24. Georgia Southern won 29-20. They lost 55-27 in 23. In 22, that's the big ball game. So that's 3 out of 4. But in 21, App State won 27-3. You want to go back? I mean, did we play in 20? Yeah, they did. So Georgia Southern lost that ball game. All right. So, the last 3 out of 4 belong to Georgia Southern, but a couple before that belonged to App State. So I think it's going to be App State. That's what I'm looking at. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know where the title of the rivalry came from, Deeper Than Hate. That's a little bit rough. All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back. We'll look at early week 11-ish preview. All right, we'll do more on Friday as well. And then a little basketball. We had a really good basketball game the other night between East Carolina and Georgia Southern. We'll talk about that for a couple minutes as well. We'll do that right after I tell you about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride on the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets in a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Jake Madison, are the Pelicans better without Zion Williamson? Favored and beat Charlotte without Zion for their first win of the season. I guess it would have been Tuesday night. Go figure. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, let's check out the rest of the action. By the way, new protein shaker. I just use water and this tea. I got green tea in there. So the other one that I had was disgusting, and we need to throw that out. Okay. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt this weekend, obviously we have some huge ball games. We've talked a lot about Southern Miss and Arkansas State. We got Marshall 4-4 going up against JMU 7-1, JMU 5-0 in the conference. Marshall 2-2. Marshall stubbed their toes a couple weeks ago, right? Was that against Coastal? Well, last week actually, and actually they tripped over themselves. They just stubbed their toe. 44-27. That's that 5 turnover ball game. 4 in the third quarter. I do not think that Marshall is going to win this ball game. I would not be surprised if it's closer than 13.5. A little bit of a high total too. They kind of are respected. I don't know if they're giving that to James Madison because of all the points they put up lately, or Marshall because they can score. But it's 55.5. I just think Marshall, just because I think football is week to week, especially in the NFL. But in college, it can also be week to week. They can't play that poorly again. There's no way. That's not going to happen. They may not score a lot, but we'll see how Marshall's defense does against JMU. Marshall's defense did not play well against Coastal Carolina. They didn't get a lot of help, but they did not play well against Coastal Carolina. I'm going to take JMU to win it, and I'm going to take Marshall to cover that 13.5. It may go over. Yeah, it may go over. We'll see. I mean, here's the thing. JMU hasn't given up a point in the second half in a month. In a month. So I'm taking JMU to win this ball game. Okay. Another sneaky ball game is the Cajuns hosting Texas State. Cajuns may have found their offense. Like I said, their offensive line may be healthy now. Coming off a nice win against South Alabama. All right. I got out to a big lead, held on at the end, defensive plays, a couple of them, and one was at the end of the ball game on a goal line stand, which they had to do twice because they jumped off sides. Cajuns 3-6, Texas State 3-5. Cajuns 2-3 in the Sun Belt, Texas State 0-4. Here and it's unbelievable. Texas State. How is Texas State favored in this ball game? 2.5 point favorite on the road. How can anybody think? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you. The Cajuns played okay against JMU, but they're not JMU. They're not Southern Miss. They're not Troy. They're on the bottom half of it, but Texas State has lost. They lost 4 in a row, and they don't have a win in the Sun Belt. I know last week I did tell you, some of their wins are close. That James Madison win wasn't close, although I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Cajuns are James Madison, obviously. But even if you think Texas State's going to win the ball game, the Cajuns should be favored, okay? If only because Texas State's never beaten the Cajuns. You could look at it one way. that history has them never beating the Cajuns. You could look at it another way. They're due. I happen to think the Cajuns, played their best ball game of the year, okay, for the most part. It can be tough to improve on what Lunch Winfield did. As much as Marshall didn't play well, kind of tough to improve on 10 for 10 in the first half and 14 out of 15 in the game. I don't know how you get better. What happened to the one completion, right? The one incompletion. I just think I'm going to be homer on this one. I'm going to take the Cajuns. I'm surprised Texas State is favored. Again, even if the Cajuns were favored by 2.5, you could think that Texas State's going to win the football game. There's no reason that Texas State is favored in this football game. That's crazy. All right. That is crazy. All right. And then you have Coastal Carolina and Georgia State. Okay. Does this have, it's tough to be a trap game when Georgia Southern is the next one, right? Or a letdown game. It wouldn't be a trap game. It could be a trap game, but it's kind of a letdown game after you had such a big win against Marshall. You should really take care of Georgia State. You have Georgia Southern, and then you have two huge ball games after that. Then you have South Carolina. And of course, we're finishing up the season with James Madison. That could determine, if they don't lose, the Sun Belt East champion. All right. Depending, of course, what James Madison does. So this is a game that Coastal Carolina should win the ball game. Coastal Carolina is 7.5-point favorites. Georgia State's been playing a little bit better, but the last time out, they lost to South Alabama 38-31. They gave Georgia Southern a tough battle for 3 quarters. They did lose to App State. Obviously, the best game of the year was, outside of the win against Murray State, was losing to James Madison 14-7. So they have not been very competitive. We'll see if Del McGee is going to lose his job. Again, that's not something that I would do, but I did not see the progress that I was hoping to see. I have not seen the progress that I was hoping to see to be in a position to where they can compete at the top end of the division next year. That's what I was hoping to see. Kind of like a 5-7 club, maybe 6-6. And then all of a sudden you take that big leap, and it has not happened. It has not happened. So I'm going to take Coastal Carolina to win and to cover. All right, just to recap here. All right, so we got, I'm going to take the Cajuns to win and cover because they're going to win. And if you win, you cover. That's 2.5 points. They're getting 2.5 points. Take Marshall to cover, but JMU to win. Here's the only thing about that, because there were no G5 teams in the college football playoff poll. Does JMU have to feel like they got to stomp on Marshall to get noticed? Because they have put up, a couple of impressive victories over the last 2 ball games, 63-27 and 52-20. You start putting up those kind of numbers on a regular basis, you're going to get noticed. So we'll see if JMU gets caught up into that. I am going to take, I'm going to take Southern Miss in this ballgame. I think they're going to win. I don't know if they're going to cover. In this case, it doesn't matter unless you put money on it. I'm going to take Southern Miss. The line, by the way, has gone down 1 point. It's gone from 5.5 to 4.5. Going to have to play all 60 minutes. All right. This game got overtime written all over it. So we'll see. All right. It's going to be a good ball game. I'm going to take Southern Miss to eke out a victory. I guess maybe Arkansas State to cover. So that's losing by 4 or less. I think it's going to be a tight ball game. All right. Unless, again, we have 4 turnovers in 1 quarter, I think it's going to be close. I'm going to take Southern Miss in that ball game. Arkansas State may or may not cover, but in this ball game, it doesn't really matter because all that matters is that Southern Miss wins. And Coastal Carolina is going to win and cover 7.5-point spread over Georgia State. All right, quickly, nice ball game on Tuesday night it wasn't Sun Belt. East Carolina holds Georgia Southern off 92-89. This ball game, incredibly close, was back and forth. East Carolina actually built a 10-point lead in the second half, and Georgia Southern went on a 16-3 run to take a lead. And then it did go back and forth. Georgia Southern fell behind, but then eventually actually took the lead at 70. They took the lead. Maybe they just tied it up. They tied it up at 79. I guess they did not have they did take a lead. 2:47 left to go. 82-81 on an Alden Applewhite made free throw. Here's the other thing about Georgia Southern. How about this one? People my age. They have a gentleman on the team named Spud Webb, although in this case, 2 Ds. It's a transfer from Manual. I'm not sure where Manual is, but he is a grad student, 6'4", 175-pound guard. And the other night, he scored 16 points, had an assist, a block, a steal, and 4 rebounds. So he's a little bit bigger than his namesake, the original Spud Webb, with 1 D. Georgia Southern Spud Webb is with 2 Ds. Who knows why? Maybe to make sure everyone knows that they're talking about which Spud Webb. Interesting. Maybe we figure he can jump out of the gym. Don't you have to be able to jump out of the gym if your name is Spud Webb? Is that legal? Are you allowed to have a name like Spud Webb if you can't jump out of the gym? All right. Episode went a little bit long. That's okay. Really do appreciate all the support. We've already had like 16 subscribers this month. Again, we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And the only way we're going to do that is 120 in November and 120 in December. So by my math, and my understanding is that there would be no math, that's about 4 subscribers a day. We're about there. So we're doing that pretty well. All right. Going to get more during the week. We don't have episodes on weekends. So somewhere along the way, we're going to need a little bit of a pop. So please let people know about it. It is growing. Really appreciative of the kind words, a bunch of kind words. Woke up. I mean, I get up early in the morning and someone had already listened to the episode. And I appreciate that. And that's all coming from the Southern Miss fans. Obviously, they're the ones going to pay attention to it. Although I did get a couple of other people saying, nice job with the interview. So that was pretty cool with Charles Huff. All right. And I appreciate all the coaches coming on. I really do. They are very busy. Try to get them in an off week. And sometimes it doesn't line up, or my days off don't line up. But we had Tim Beck, Charles Huff, and Butch Jones. And that's pretty sweet that they, I guess, respect me enough to come on. And I do appreciate their time and all those SIDs that lined them up. That's a big ask on their part, and very kind of them to do that. So thank you all so much. It's all awesome. That's how this channel continues to grow. All right. We'll do more previewing on Friday. All right. And then we'll see. I doubt we're going to recap the Georgia Southern App State game. I have to get up really early. Got an early meeting at work, like an hour earlier. So I'm getting up an hour earlier, and I get up early enough as it is. So I'm going to guess we're not going to see the second half of that App State Georgia Southern ball game. So we'll do a quick Friday morning recap where that is. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. You've been watching and listening to Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Friday.